Alright, so in today's video, we're going to be going over the Warbonds in Helldivers 2. We're going to be ranking them from the worst to the best. But first, I actually wanted to talk about the Chemical Agents Warbond. Now, I actually did not include this Warbond in the list because it's completely different from all of the other Warbonds in the sense that it gives you stratagems and it gives you stratagems. It gives you a gas grenade as well as the stim pistol, and all of the other warbonds have like primary and secondary weapons and all that good stuff. So I didn't really think it would be fair to include this in the list. But yeah, we'll still go over it really quickly. Now, in my opinion, I would consider buying this after the top three warbonds that we're going to be discussing. And it's completely up to you when you want to purchase this. I would definitely purchase the top three first, and then after that, start considering when you're going to purchase this war bond. Now, the armor in this war bond is the advanced filtration, provides 80% resistance to gas damage and effects. Yeah, it's actually a really, really powerful armor. It's really cool. Um, and a lot of times it actually feels like it's better than 80% to be completely honest. And then you have the three um, offensive items in this war bond. They all kind of do the same thing, but a little bit differently. Um, you have the G4 gas grenades. You have the sterilizer stratagem, which is a lot like the flamethrower, except for it shoots out gas. And then you also have the guard dog dog breath. This is a lot like the guard dog laser, or yeah, the guard either one of the guard dog backpacks that you can wear, but it shoots out gas as well. Now what this gas does is it actually confuses your opponents, and it can actually make them attack each other, which is really cool. It's a lot of fun to mess around with. But yeah, and then we have the stim pistol. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the stim pistol is pretty low on my list of secondary weapons, just because it's really hard to shoot your teammates. Um, especially in the heat of combat when they're running away from enemies and stuff like that. But yeah, and like I said, anytime after the top three spots in this list, I would actually consider buying this Warbond. It's still a really cool Warbond. I just did not think it was fair to include it in this list. So without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. All right, so coming in at number 7 is the Viper Commandos Warbond. And to be completely honest, guys, I actually hate the fact that I had to put this at number 7, because it actually has my absolute favorite booster in the entire game, the Experimental Infusion. Now, what the Experimental Infusion does is, in addition to restoring health, Sims temporarily increase movement speed and damage reduction. Now the damage reduction part is actually an understatement. It feels like while you're under the effects of this booster, right after you stim, it's like you're not taking any damage at all, to be honest. And yeah, like if somebody else doesn't bring this booster in when I'm playing with a team, I always bring this in 100% of the time. And yeah, it absolutely sucks that I'm putting this in at number 7. But overall, the rest of the war bonds are just better. They just are, guys. Now, the other redeeming quality of this war bond is the armor that it comes with. It has the peak physique armor passive. It increases melee damage by 50% and improves weapons handling with less drag on weapon movement. Now, the second part of this is very, very noticeable. It makes a lot of weapons that you wouldn't normally want to use just because it has so much drag and so much recoil. Uh, that much more usable in the game. And yeah, it's actually a really cool armor to use. Now the weapons, on the other hand, in this Warbond, honestly, they're all kind of trash, to be honest. You got the Liberator Carbine. There's just so many better assault rifles that you could use in this game. Not that the assault rifles are that great in this game, but yeah, like nobody's using the Liberator Carbine, to be honest. It's kind of trash, to be honest. And then there's the Bushwhacker. Now, the Bushwhacker is kind of cool as a secondary weapon, but there's at least five or six other secondary weapons that you would rather bring in than this. It's a like a sawed-off shotgun. It does a lot of damage, but you only have 3 rounds per magazine. And yeah, it's cool, but we're gonna get into some better ones later on for sure. And then last but not least, I say last but not least, but they recently buffed the throwing knives. I think we used to be able to have like 5 of them, and now they gave us 20 of them. It's a fun weapon to mess around with, or a fun throwable to mess around with, but it just doesn't do the damage that it needs to do in order for you to maintain using this in higher difficulty levels like 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, yeah, just no, just no. All right, let's get into the next Warbond, guys. Right, so coming in at number 6 is the Polar Patriots Warbond. Now, I'm not going to talk about the armors in this Warbond because they're just reskinned armors from stuff that you could unlock earlier in the game anyway. So we're not going to get into that. There's nothing different about the armors that are in this Warbond. Now, motivational shocks is the booster that comes with this one. Allows Helldivers to recover faster after being slowed by an attack, such as acid. Does not mitigate area effects, such as EMS strikes. Also, when you run into plants that slow you down, it doesn't help you out there. When they first announced this booster, it I thought it was going to have a lot of promise, but it actually ended up really disappointing. Almost nobody runs it, to be honest. So yeah, I would definitely would not buy this or purchase this Warbond just for that booster for sure, for sure. Now let's get into the weapons. These weapons in this Warbond are actually pretty decent. The Tenderizer Assault Rifle is it does 95 damage and it has light armor penetrating. Its its ammo capacity is not terrible. You get 35 rounds per clip. Um Very low recoil. Fire rate's really good. It's probably a top 5 or top 6 assault rifle in the game. Definitely not terrible. Not the best, but not the worst for sure. And some people tend to love it, so hey, if you love it, go for it. Now the pummeler is actually a pretty cool submachine gun. It's a one-handed weapon that you can carry around as well, which makes some of the missions a little bit easier for you, especially if you need to carry something from point A to point B. It's light armor penetrating. It's also one-handed. Does a decent amount of damage. Now they took some of the stagger away from it, which really pissed a lot of people off. Yeah, it's still pretty decent. Now this here is the incendiary impact grenade. This is actually one of the better throwables that you can bring in, especially against the Terminids. It's really good for crowd control. Throw this in on a bug breach, one or two of these in on a bug breach, and just watch your kills just stack up. Especially with all the damage that fire does in this game, it's actually a pretty decent grenade, and the incendiary impact, the impact part of it just makes it that much better because it explodes on impact, which is really cool. Now we got the Purifier, which recently was buffed. This thing does a lot of damage. Um, I still I'm still not in love with it, unfortunately. I know some people that only use this weapon now, which is great. It's just not my style, but I definitely see people using it on difficulty levels 7, 8, 9, 10, and they got this thing down pat, and they've mastered it, and they can just do tons of damage with this thing, and they definitely use it to their advantage. I like this one more so over on the bots than the bugs, but I do see people using it on both sides. Now we have the P113 verdict. This is a handgun. It does medium armor penetration because it recently got buffed, so it does a little bit more damage and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it's definitely, I would say it's probably in the top five as far as secondary weapons. Yeah, the ammo capacity on it is 10 per magazine, which makes it really cool. The fire rate's actually pretty quick for especially for a handgun, and recoil's only 40. You don't really feel it that much though. All right, guys, let's get into the next Warbond. Right, so coming in at number five is the Steeled Veterans Warbond. This was actually the very first Warbond that was released by Arrowhead. And yeah, it's actually a really good Warbond, to be honest. I just think the next four are just a little bit better. Now, we're just going to start right off with the P4 Senator. This was recently buffed, and now it's basically like a hand cannon. It's a secondary weapon that can literally kill Bile Titans. It can kill Hulks. It can kill tanks, and it's just absolutely amazing, especially for a secondary weapon. It's definitely like a top two or three for sure. Um, it does 200 damage. It's heavy armor penetrating, one-handed, and rounds reload. And it just shreds through almost everything in the entire game. And then we have the Liberated Concussive, not not a very good weapon. Again, it's an assault rifle. Yeah, unfortunately, Arrowhead has not shown assault rifles that much love in this game, to be honest. There's only a couple of really good ones, and then there's a whole bunch of shit, to be honest. Now, as far as the armor, I can't really remember if we had servo assisted before this Warbond was released. Um, yeah, comment in the section down below. Let me know if we had this in the OG Warbond or not, the one that they gave us with the game. Um, I actually kind of forgot to look to see if this was already in there before I started recording this. It's all good though, guys. It's all good. You guys can roast me in the comments. It's all good. So we got the G10 incendiary grenades. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I do like the impact grenades a little bit more, but they actually buffed the damage on these recently, and it does double the damage it used to do. I have not messed around with these too much, to be honest. I do need to test them out a little bit more just to see just how much more damage they do. Oh, excuse me. Now, the Breaker Incendiary used to be the god when it came to fighting the Terminids. And now it's kind of been knocked down a couple of pegs just because of some recent buffs to some different weapons and some other stuff. The ammo economy on this weapon is not as good as it used to be. Now, if you're still running this weapon along with the supply pack, you're absolutely fine. But yeah, it's a good weapon, but not the best anymore when it comes to the Terminids. And I keep seeing people say that the Jar 5 Dominator needs another buff. I kind of disagree, to be honest, though. This weapon is still cooks, absolutely cooks against the automatons. And if you know how to use it right, if you're running with like some light armor and something like the jump pack to make sure you get enough distance between you and the Terminids, it cooks against them too. So yeah, um, Jar 5 Dominator is still one of the better weapons in the entire game, for sure. Now the booster that comes with this is the flexible reinforcement budget. To be completely honest, nobody really brings this in the end game. Like it's kind of a waste of a booster slot. And what it does is it reduces time until new reinforcements are granted once been depleted. Now the entire point of the game is to not get to that point where you're completely depleted of your reinforcements. So why would you bring this booster? I really don't understand that. But yeah, let's get into the number four Warbond. Now, coming in at number 4 is the Truth Enforcers Warbond. This was the most recent one that Arrowhead released. I just recently made a video covering this Warbond, so we're going to quickly go over this. Now, I will say this Warbond is a lot better over on the automaton side, but it can be used against the Terminids. You're just not going to have maximal results like you would against the bots. Now, as far as the booster goes, we got Dead Sprint. It allows Helldivers to keep sprinting even when they are out of stamina, draining their health instead. Now, one of the cool things about this booster is it will not kill you. If you keep running and you use all your stamina and then you use all your health, it will stop at one. So it can't technically kill you. You can get all the way down to one and then stim, and then you can keep running again, which is pretty cool. Um, Now, as far as the weapons go, we have the SG-20 Halt, and this is a shotgun that has both stun and damage rounds. Now these stun rounds do light armor penetration, and the damage rounds do medium armor penetration. You could switch back and forth with these rounds, and it's actually really cool. It's also rounds reload as well. And yeah, try it out against the automatons. You're gonna have a ton of fun. Now, if you're able to master this weapon, I have not yet though. But if you're able to master this weapon, I've seen people do it. You can switch back and forth between your stun and your damage and like just completely control the battlefield, which is absolutely amazing. Um, and then we have the SMG 32 Reprimand. This is a bad mother sucker, to be honest, guys. It does a ton of damage. The only downfall to this is it only has 25 rounds per magazine. But yeah, for it being a submachine gun and doing medium armor penetrating, it's actually really, really cool. And yeah, like I said in a previous video, this might make my top 5 list for primary weapons against the or not the Terminators, but the automatons. Um, Next we have the Loyalist. Now the Loyalist is kind of like having um a mini plasma secondary weapon that you charge up and you shoot it, and it's actually pretty cool. Still not my favorite though. That's just not my style, the whole charge up and then fire. But yeah, I see a lot of people using this to their advantage, and it's kind of like one of those weapons that if you can master it, you're going to be doing a lot of damage and having a lot of fun with it for sure. It's medium armor penetrating, one-handed, obviously, charge up and explosive. So yeah, yeah, it's actually really cool, really cool. Um, Now let's see. The armor is the unflinching armor. Helps prevent hull divers from flinching when hit. It's actually a decent armor. Not one of my favorites, but yeah. I mean, you definitely mess around with it. You might fall in love with it. You won't know until you try though. But yeah, let's get into the next Warbond. Now, coming in at number 3 is the Freedom's Flame Warbond. And if you only fight Terminids and that's just your twist, then forget everything I said in this video. Forget what I'm about to say in this video about number 2 and number 1. This is the Warbond for you. It's an absolute Terminid killer. This Warbond is. So yeah, let's get into it, guys. The very first weapon that you unlock is the SG 451 Cookout. This thing is a absolute monster. It's actually decent against the bots too, which I was a little bit surprised about. But yeah, what it does is it's a single shot shotgun, and you just like the accuracy on this thing is absolutely ridiculous. You could take out hordes and hordes and hordes of the bugs, and it actually sets them on fire as well. It's my absolute favorite weapon to use against the Terminids. Now some other people are gonna like some of the other stuff that's in this Warbond a little bit more. I absolutely love this thing though. Anytime I use it, I'm always at over 70 to 80% accuracy, and sometimes even higher than that. And I love the fact that it's rounds reload, which means like you reload every round individually, so you're never wasting ammo, which is absolutely freaking amazing. I love this gun. And then we have the torture and the crisper. Now these two weapons actually have the same exact stats. One's a primary weapon and one's a secondary weapon. Now the big difference between the two is the ammo capacity on these. Um, yeah, the torture has a lot more ammo in it, but that's it. That's like the only difference. It's like having a mini flamethrower or a mini flamethrower, to be honest. These things are absolutely amazing against the Terminids. So much fun to use against them for sure. This is a really good war bond. Now, the only downfall to this war bond is when somebody brings this booster in. This might be my least favorite booster in the entire game. Yes, when you drop down a hell pod, it does damage to the opponents, but if you are standing too close to one of these hell pod drops, you will get killed. You will get killed. That is the only downfall to this warbot for sure. It's those those hell pods, if you're standing too close to them, you're screwed. Now, the armor that this comes with is actually really cool as well. You get the 75% damage resistance to fire, allowing bearer to rest assured in their inflammability. Honestly, I barely ever use this, just because I know that once you dive, you put yourself out. And I'm usually pretty good at like avoiding fire, but if you're not the best at avoiding fire, or if you're playing with people that are a little bit reckless, you might want to bring this armor in. Okay? We're about to get into the nitty gritty, guys. About to get into number two and number one. So yeah, here we go. All right, so coming in at number two, we have the cutting edge bond. Now, this is Oh man, I mean one and two is like one and one A to be honest, in my book. This Warbond is absolutely amazing, except for the booster. The booster localized confusion increases the time between enemy encounters. I've never really seen a difference when somebody runs this booster. I think it's almost irrelevant to run it. And then we have the electro conduit armor passive. It provides 95% provides 95% resistance to arc damage. Basically makes you immune to arc damage. Not the most useful armor, but it is pretty cool. Um, yeah, I mean, you're really only going to run that if you want to have fun with your friends, and you know everybody's going to be bringing in like blitzers and arc throwers and stuff like that, Tesla towers. Other than that, you just kind of want to stay clear of them, and you'll be good to go. There's definitely some better armors out there, but yeah, it is nice to have when you need it. So now we have the last 16 sickle. As long as you know how to use this weapon, it's unlimited ammo. As long as you don't overheat it, it does a decent amount of damage in a pretty short amount of time. The fire rate's pretty fast. It's 750 fire rate, almost no recoil. It's light armor penetrating. It's good against the bots, good against the bugs. It's actually a really decent weapon. I still use it from time to time. I don't use it as much as I used to. But yeah, it's pretty good for sure. Now we have the G23 stun grenades, and so many people use this grenade. I mean, you throw it down, you stun your opponent. It gives you time to position yourself so that you can take your opponent out. Yeah, I mean, what's not to say about the stun grenades? They're absolutely amazing for sure. Now we're going to get into the Punisher Plasma. This is my absolute favorite automaton weapon for sure. It's medium armor penetrating and explosive, but not only that, it does so much damage when it hits the automatons. It it always knocks them back and staggers them, and it gives me so much time. It saved my ass so many times when fighting the automatons. Um, and they recently buffed it. It actually went from eight rounds per magazine to 10 rounds. And yeah, check it out, guys. It's actually pretty good against the bugs too. Now the skill level over on the bugs is a little bit higher because you got to make sure you can position yourself so that you don't blow yourself up as well as the bugs. But yeah, it's my absolute favorite automaton weapon in the entire game. Now we got the Arc 12 Blitzer. Um, Arrowhead keeps giving this weapon love, and we're going to keep taking it, guys. We're going to keep taking it. This is an absolute Terminator killer. Probably one of the best Terminator weapons in the entire game. Does 250 damage. You can fight almost everything over on the Terminator side with this weapon. It's medium armor penetrating, which is really cool as well. Unlimited ammo. They recently lowered the fire rate on it, or increased the fire rate on it so that you can shoot this like so much quicker in quick succession. Um, yeah, it's just a monster over on the Terminus side. Now I know that some people use it on the automatons. I'm not a huge fan of using it. I don't like getting that close to the automatons to use this, but some people do use it. And then we have the last seven dagger, which was recently buffed. It does a lot more damage now. It's also unlimited ammo as long as you don't overheat it. Light armor penetrating. Um, it's a beam. It's a laser, obviously. And it sets your opponents on fire. It's really cool. I really like it. It's a really good secondary weapon. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the number one Warbond, the Warbond that I would unlock before I would unlock anything else. All right, so the number one spot is taken by Democratic Detonation. This Warbond gives you so much build diversity. It's absolutely insane. I absolutely love this war bond. And for any new player out there that, is really questioning whether or which war bond they should unlock, it 100%, in my opinion, is this one. Um, so let's just start off with the thermite grenades. These used to be absolute trash, and Arrowhead recently buffed them, and now they can take out pretty much anything in the entire game with one or two of these things. They stick to your opponent and they heat up and they burn through your opponent until they explode. They can take out chargers, battle titans, tanks, you name it. These things are absolutely amazing. They do 2,000 damage, guys. 2,000 damage. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, when they did buff this, they lowered the amount of these that you used to get from, I think it was like 4 or 5 to 3, which is definitely fair because these do so much damage. So yeah, they're they're absolutely amazing, especially for a throwable. Um, Now I think we have a couple different armors in here. This is the engineering kit. Further reduces recoil when crouching or prone. Increases the initial inventory of holding capacity of the throwables by 2. This is one of my 2 or 3 favorite armors to run, especially when I am using the thermite grenades. It gives me 5 of those, which is really cool. I have used this with other throwables as well, though. It's actually a really cool armor for sure. Now let's get into some of the weapons. First off, we have the Adjudicator. Arrowhead keeps buffing this damn thing, and it's like It's definitely one of the best assault rifles in the entire game for sure. Does a ton of damage. It's medium armor penetrating. The recoil on it isn't too bad at all. Yeah, make sure you guys check it out. You can use it actually against the bots or the bugs. It doesn't really matter. It's actually a top tier assault rifle in this game for sure. Now let's see what this is. This is engineering kit. Okay, same thing. Okay, just wanted to double check. Now, as far as the booster in this, Warbond, again, kind of trash. Lowers the time it takes from the extraction shuttle to reach the extraction beacon. Nobody really runs this, guys, to be honest. The cutoff time is very minimal. It's only like 18 seconds or something like that. It's not that great, to be honest. Now we have the R36 Eruptor. The Eruptor is really good, but still not as good as when it was originally released. It does medium armor penetration, and it's also explosive. It's a single round shot, so every time you fire it, you'll kind of like reload, and it's good against automatons. I guess the term it is though, sometimes you will get swarmed when using this thing. Does 455 damage, which is absolutely insane. And yeah, yeah, there's actually a weapon in this Warbond that's actually better than that, and that is the crossbow. Now, the crossbow is so good against both the bots and the bugs. It might be the best overall weapon in the entire game. Just considering the fact that it's so good against both factions. It's medium armor penetrating, explosive, does 620 damage, guys. 620 damage. Um, yeah, the crossbow is absolutely amazing. It's also one-handed. So if you want to use this while um grabbing something like the hard drive and you have to run it across the map, or you're doing like thief missions, or not thief missions, but the side mission and stuff like that. It's just the fact that it's one hand is absolutely crazy. And then we have the grenade pistol. Might be the best secondary weapon in the entire game. You can close bug holes with it. You can destroy fabricators with it. Does 650 damage. So even if you're not using it for bug holes or fabricators, you can use this in a pinch and like destroy multiple enemies at the same time. One-handed explosive. Um, yeah, it's absolutely amazing, guys. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this video in the comment section down below. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. I love you all. I appreciate you all, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.